Bitcoin breakout imminent? Question everything, trust nothing. Welcome to Debate Crypto. It's your boy, CryptoKeeper, and we're here for another Around the Charts. That's right, TA Thursday. If it's your first time here, strap in. We've got some interesting information coming from the Bitcoin sector that's going to affect all markets. So stick around for that. If it's your first time here, welcome. I'll jump into the chat here in just a minute. But before we do that, let's get the guests on here. Who do we have today? We've got the one and only Crypto Zombie. Zombie, what's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? Thank you so much again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Dude, glad to have you on as always. And been a little while since this gentleman's been on, but no one can forget him. Frankie Candles. What's up, Frankie?
Nothing much. Thank you guys for having me. Happy to be back.
Glad to have you on. And then the one and only regular to the show, Bill Noble. Bill, what's going on?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Glad to have everyone. It is a beautiful Thursday. Well, actually, it's a dreary Thursday here in Ohio, but it's Ohio, so that's what I get for living here. Make sure to smash the like if you're just coming in. If you are over on Twitter, welcome. We're going to do a spot on the show. If anybody has a live question that what they want to throw at one of the panelists, drop a super chat and then put your Twitter name underneath there. You can jump over into the Twitter space that's sponsored by Danger Close Alpha, and we will be happy to bring you up on stage. It'll basically be like a phone call coming in, and you can ask one of the panelists a question if you've got one. So let me jump into the chat, say hi real quick, and then we'll dive into it. We got some new names, so I want to recognize a bunch of people here. Kim Craig, Bark Hendricks, Sydney. What's going on? C's Crypto. Let's see who else we got in here. Richard Berry, Jeff Player, Justin Eubanks. Glad everybody's here. Brad Geidel, regular of the show. Quarter Crawler. Hold on a second. This is a good one. Pancakes, no problem. Oh, no. Pancakes and peanut butter. I thought it was NP. Pancakes and peanut butter. I actually like pancakes and peanut butter. And then JV. So welcome, everybody. All right, let's dive into it. Make sure you follow Zombie. Make sure you follow Frankie Candles. Make sure you follow Bill Noble. They are taking time out of their day. They'd love to be getting paid for this stream, but we are not there yet. So you know what? The least you can do is subscribe to their channels if you're not already, and then turn on the bell notifications because that'll let you know YouTube is on and rocking and rolling. All right, cool. Let's start off with the charts. Well, not quite the charts, but we're going to check out the market cap. We have the global market cap. Man, this was green earlier. Up. We're at 1.17 trillion with the T dollars. That's actually down 1.48%. We're going to dive into why here in just a minute. Bitcoin's at 27,913. Didn't hold that 28 number. And in fact, it didn't hold 29 either. So are we on the way back down? Stick around to find out about that. ETH dropped down below 1,800. We're at 1,776. BNB flirting with that 300 number again. It's been pretty flat. XRP community, XRP fan, put them up. Big winner the last week, up 22.67%. Are we going to hear an SEC ruling soon? I hope so. And then rounding out the top 10, obviously you can tell Crusader is in the background running the soundboard, given the wah, wah, wah anytime we talk about XRP. And then Solana rounding out the top 10 at down 3.58%. Okay, cool. Let's dive into it. I got some tengo preguntas. Yo tengo preguntas. I have questions. All right, cool. Frankie, I'm going to kick it off with you, brother. So we saw Bitcoin hit 29K yesterday. Obviously, 30K is a big number that investors have their eyes on, right? So talk to me about what you see in relation to the current markets and that 29K, 30K level. I think they're really important, but tell me kind of what you're seeing with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. So there we go. You guys there? I think you guys can see that now. But yeah, so definitely that 30K number is that number that everybody is looking at. And even that 28K level that we are, sitting right around right now is a level that we were watching for quite some time. There were a couple times where we thought we were going to get the break to it, and then finally we did get up there. But kind of what I'm looking at here, Keeper, is basically, right now we are hitting our head on a really, really interesting level here. Now, this is kind of a little bit of a range here. Obviously, we wicked up to this level here here at about 29,000, about 29,400. But this general range here, I could even drag this box all the way up here. This general range is a very important level of resistance. And kind of, one of the things that makes this a really, really strong level is not only has this acted as strong support throughout the entire bull market, of 2021, we held this level beautifully here, and then we came down after we topped out here, got that big absolute collapse down. Everyone was freaking out, and then we got a nice bounce off that, came up to put in, what I call a, in my opinion, this was kind of an inflated dead cat bounce that happened to make a higher high, and then kind of a hot take there. I do think this first top, I know a lot of people do think this first top, in my opinion, was the actual top of the market. And then again, this was some kind of inflated bounce. But then we came down, we got a bounce off the top of this purple box here. And then we basically held this level, like we're clinging onto it. A lot of people thought this was going to be the bottom. Even a lot of people who are in crypto that I know were like, hey, I think this might be the new bottom. But then the floor broke out and we obviously came down into the brutal bear market. But the not only the fact that this was such strong support, that is not really the only reason I'm looking at this as such an important level. But as you can see here, we actually had this little range that we traded in. And as we traded in this range, this was back in May of 2022, we actually created some interesting levels here using the volume profile tool. We have a value area low down here coming in at the beginning of this purple box. And this was an important level for us to flip to support, in my opinion, right? So this is still basically the level I'm watching, because if we could flip that value area low from back here to support, what that's going to do is open up the door to potentially come up and revisit the point of control of that range, which is coming in at about $30,000, right? So kind of what I'm looking for is if we could get above this level. Obviously got a nasty rejection here, which I'm sure we'll wind up talking about at some point in the show. But, if we could get above that level and hold that value area low as support, that's where I am going to be looking for that break up to the POC of that range at about 30K. Because once you get accepted back into that previous area of balance, which is just that range that we were trading in, once you get above that value area low and you hold the low of that range as support, it is more likely that you will wind up getting a move up to your POC. And then eventually, you would be hoping to get a move up to your value area high, which is coming in at about 30,500, which is going to be another key level, because that essentially is going to hold us back to even more higher prices for Bitcoin. But I'm not going to say those targets just yet, because people will call me a moon boy.
So let me ask you, Frankie, that 30,000 level or thereabouts, you said that was a point of control. Are you a believer in the big even numbers? Do you believe that 30K is where it's at? It's a point of control. There's a lot of volume there because it's 30K, like as if it was 20K or as if it was 40K. Are you a believer in that?
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good question. Now, the reason why I watch these whole numbers, you'll hear a lot of people say like, oh, we got that 30K level. It's a psychological level of support, resistance, whatever they're talking about. But really what makes those psychological levels so strong is that, humans, right? Humans, essentially all charts is a plotting of a human emotion, right? And basically, people like whole numbers, right? And, people especially like to, if you were getting long all the way at the bottom, say at 15.5, 30K might be a really, really big profit-taking target for a lot of people, right? So people will set those limit orders at 30K, creating a wall of orders, right? So when price comes into that level, those limit orders are just going to eat up the price as we get up to that level. So, I like that you said that too, because not only is 30K that point of control, but it is also a psychological level, which I do take into account for sure.
Yeah, I know. I just in my experience in the years that I've been in crypto, it seems very interesting. They say history doesn't always repeat, but it rhymes. It's very interesting. We get these big even numbers that we either get stuck at or right before, and then flirts around with it. Then we get some sort of a breakout from there. So I was curious as to what your thoughts on that were. No, great breakdown. I appreciate that, brother. Well, there's a lot going on in the crypto space. Okay. A lot more than just, hey, crypto's pumping, right? So I want to go to Zombie on this. Zombie, so a lot of people are talking about the Restrict Act. We've been talking about it for a couple days. That's the TikTok ban for those of you that don't know. Tell me your overall thoughts on the act, on the Restrict Act. I know you had a tweet that I think you wanted to pull up maybe from Elizabeth Warren, but in macro fashion, how do you see this affecting markets on the way up or the way down?
Yeah, sure. I can just pull that up in a second, but before I do, because that's kind of separate. But you've seen right now, I was calling it I was calling it the Bitcoin Civil War, but it's really more like the crypto Civil War. And, if this was back in 2017, the Civil War would be just us versus them. But now you're seeing a lot of the states come out, right? You're seeing, certain states like Florida, Texas, Wyoming, they're being more pro crypto. And you are seeing that pushback. And that is nice to see because it's showing that they're realizing the staying power of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And, I think right now, as far as the banking system is concerned, the collapse, the crisis, that for me is nothing but a giant advertisement for Bitcoin. Yeah. And that's why I think you've seen Bitcoin remain resilient and strong. People are losing faith in the banks, but the Restrict Act is different. Now we're talking about this sort of like totalitarian 1984 overlord dictatorship, where they're basically saying that this makes the Great Wall of China look like a picket fence, and they could be blowing it out of proportion. And is everybody going to be an enemy of the state? Probably not. But the fact that they're using that vague language is actually what makes it more scary. It's the same way that the SEC has very vague parameters. Coinbase has reached out to the SEC over 35 times, according to their CFO, and yet they just don't respond. They leave them in the dark. And then what do? Bam, they just hit them with a hammer. Oh, you guys have staking here. You got to pay these bills. You got to pay these fines. And it's scary. And now what they're doing with this Restrict Act is basically saying that if there's an app, they're trying to say that it's for TikTok. Everyone's calling it the TikTok Act. Yep. But, hidden beneath, deep inside of, if you look inside the pages, it's the language that they're using is basically saying that a U.S. citizen could be considered like some sort of a foreign entity, right? And, who knows what these apps are? They're building they could be potentially building an entire team around this, right? And this is sort of a situation where if they don't agree with what you're doing, this is basically the Patriot Act on steroids, right? You're using a VPN to get around it. Well, guess what? Inside this act, there's a potential fine between $250,000 to $1 million with 20 years in jail. 20 years in jail. So can you imagine? Now the question is, it says it refers to data, apps. Well, what is, come on, be clear with that. Is an app a ledger, right? If I'm keeping my Bitcoin on my own self-custody, is that using an app? Yeah. And if you deem that as not, so do I go to jail because I'm trying to actually protect my assets, right? So this leads us in, and now I want to share my screen.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then I'll also go into some TA if you don't mind while I'm just kind of doing this.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, this sort of leads me to, hold on, let me just get this right here. The Elizabeth Warren campaign, which is absolutely blowing my mind. So she's obviously been very, very anti-crypto. And so this comes out literally yesterday. And look at this, Elizabeth Warren, and this is an ad. It's going to keep changing. Over-the-counter hearing aids finally available, et cetera, right? And then it goes, proposes $10 a day for childcare. And then look at this one that slips in, is building an anti-crypto army. This is directly from her campaign. And people are getting excited over this. They're like, yes. And this is really, really scaring me. It's that sort of Stockholm syndrome, where people are just lining up and they don't realize what they're lining up for. You're lining up for this sort of oversight, this control. And this is what does scare me, before we get into the charts is, I think the banking system and maybe the fiat collapse, I don't want the dollar to collapse. I think that's all fine and dandy. I think that's a big advertisement for Bitcoin, but this I think could actually affect the price. If you start telling people, if you want to hold your Bitcoin in a wallet or you want to use an app and we catch you and we disagree with that app, we're fining you $1 million and putting you in jail for 20 years, then yeah, honest to God, I think the price will dump because think about it. People have families, they have jobs. Are they really going to take that risk? And I think that would be the absolute worst thing for crypto. It would send the, all of the innovation over shores. Coinbase is going over shore. Gemini is going over shore. And I think, as if the US wasn't falling behind as is, I think that would just be the end of it. So I would say you should definitely talk to your representatives locally and tell them that if they do not veto, counter, whatever you want to call it, vote against this, then you're going to vote for their closest competitors in the next primaries.
Before you show me the TA, I want to bring Bill in real quick.
Oh,
Bill,
sure.
you're really well versed on this. You're watching the back end of this like a hawk. I've seen TikToks and other things that you've got going on. What's your overall kind of macro thought on just what's happening with this bill? Is it as advertised? Is it a smoke show? What do you think?
It's not a smoke show.
Okay, you don't think it is? They're not pushing their weight. They're just trying to push people around. This is for real.
Yeah, this is for real. This is the US invasion of the internet. So Gensler, clown show, right? He doesn't want to pass legislation, so he wants the courts to try to do it. The courts are never going to side with Gensler because they haven't passed any laws. There's no regulations, nothing to enforce. So Gensler can't do it. The CFTC can't do it. You got Elizabeth Warren trying to do it. And guess what? They're not stopping Bitcoin. So what do they have to do? They have to try to control the internet, right? I mean, the internet and electricity. It actually came up in my Gann work. I guess we'll talk about that at some point.
Yeah.
But this is not funny. And I don't think the crypto market has fully grasped what these guys are trying to do. You realize there's 8 Republicans on this bill?
I know.
This is bipartisan. So, the deep state means business. And I think, frankly, this is coming about. It's too much talk about whether the dollar is going to be the reserve currency or not. There's too much talk about that and not enough talk about how much the dollar could drop or how fast it could drop if 40 million Fidelity customers hit the Bitcoin buy button.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's talk about that. If those customers were to hit the buy button, or maybe on the other side, depending on what Zombie thinks here.
I think this. I think Bill. I mean, I don't know if you know anything. I'm not like a huge Constitution guy, but I feel like this kind of goes against the Fourth Amendment. Unnecessary search and seizures without reason. Now you're telling me that regardless of what I've done, you can just flip on my backyard Ring camera and just watch me hanging out with friends and spy on me. I mean, I knew the NSA already had the power to do it, but now you're telling me it's basically, it's not if, it's just, yes, we're going to. That's essentially what it's basically like. Now it doesn't matter if you're a criminal or not. Like, you are just under surveillance.
Zombie, let me tell you something. So I'm not in the Marine Corps anymore. It's been years, and this was 10 years ago. I've told this story before, but just so that you understand, and this was technology that was actually, I guess it would have been 11 or 12 years ago. We were out on a ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and I'm talking way out. And we had somebody put a postage stamp on their driveway and write something on it in real time. And in real time, we watched them put the postage stamp down, zoom in on it, and saw exactly word for word what was said live on that postage stamp. So let me just tell everybody, if you don't think that you're able to be surveilled, I promise you, you are. Absolutely.
I mean, I've always assumed we were, but now it's just a matter of, I wasn't getting jailed for 20 years and, $1 million fine because I was using TikTok. Now that's a possibility. Yeah, so that is scary. And like you said, data, where does it end? Bitcoin is data, right? It is. So does that extend to Bitcoin? Scary times, guys. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I can, from a constitutional point of view, here's how they get around it. The Fourth Amendment. They say, if you use XYZ app, we won't send you to jail, but we're going to tax you. Like, Congress has taxing authority.
Of course.
This is what happened with healthcare. I mean, that's how they got that through. The Congress's unlimited blank check to levy taxes. So,
well, I'm pretty sure our jails are pretty already overcrowded. I don't think.
Yeah, right.
I mean, what are you talking about? Putting 12-year-olds in jail because they wanted to watch some funny memes on TikTok? I mean, come on, guys. Like, let's be realistic about this. So
it is realistic, or it is very unrealistic. But I'm hearing rumblings that this is for real too. That this is actually, they're really trying to press this through, and the bipartisan part of it is what scares me, because Democrats and Republicans, at least on their face, when what they show you is they can't agree on freaking anything, especially not right now. Now, whether it's controlled opposition, whether it really is the way that they present it to you or not, I don't know. But the facts are they don't agree on a single damn thing, and now all of a sudden they all agree on this TikTok ban for national security, for safety, when all of our in-house and overseas companies that are already surveilling us are bringing in that data anyway. It would have been cheaper to basically just to pay for and farm the data if they really wanted it. It's out there.
There was a meeting with, I don't know if it was senators or I don't know, one of those meetings, and one of the guys is like, "Where's our money?" He's like, from all this data that you guys are farming from TikTok, where's our money? So basically it comes down to money again. You're just upset that another country is farming data of individuals and you're not benefiting from the data that they're farming. So because of that, you want to ban it. You want all the data for yourself so you can sell the products, like you said, and like Bill said, eventually tax them. And I do think that they are serious. I think they will, if they do go through with it, they will use a few examples, like they'll pick and choose a few big influencers. I hope it's not any of us, but, kind of as an example. But I do think it'll just become kind of like a slap on the wrist like everything else. I mean, come on, marijuana has been illegal for how long? How many people have been smoking marijuana? You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of people in jail for it, but also there's tons of people that have been doing it. You know what I mean? So I think it's just one of those things. You know, they're just trying to put the fear. They know they could never really control. So, but it is still something that will affect all of us and is not to be taken lightly, for sure.
For sure. Well, did you want to pull up? Did you have something you wanted to pull up on TA on that or no?
I mean, Frankie nailed it. I could just show you guys what I'm looking at super quick. I could do this in like 2 minutes. I don't want to take up a lot of time. Okay. Basically, yeah. So are you guys, am I sharing or?
No, you just pulled it off on accident.
Oh, I was sharing. My bad, guys. I'm so bad with technology, even though I'm in the Bitcoin world.
Makes two of us, bro. Don't worry.
So
I feel you. I'm right there with you, zombie.
So can you guys see this?
Yeah.
All right. So super quick, guys, when we were down here, right, we were sitting below this area. We started putting in this double bottom. Everybody was freaking out. Everyone was calling for 10K, 13K lower. I said, this is ridiculous. I've seen this before. They're pulling the same FUD that they pulled back here. It literally felt like we were repeating 2018, 2019 all over again. And I said, hey guys, risk versus reward at this point. You know, I would flip the long side, not financial advice. And what we were looking for was what we called a triple threat. We had this death cross on the weekly. You could see the yellow moving below the whatever is pink. And then we had this pivot point right here, which was this first Terra Luna crash, which I consider to really have set off that cascade, that domino, you know, of sort of waterfall. And then we also had this major downward sloping right here support that had flipped resistance. Once we broke above all that, you could see we came down here on the weekly. We literally retested that area and bounced up. That's when I said, guys, I am flipping bullish. I'm like full on, like now we have to go the other way to also make me feel bearish again. And we put in a classic bump and run reversal. You could see right here, we had this too. We came up, we touched it once, we touched it twice, and boom, right? So this is essentially textbook showing us that on the technicals, regardless of the fundamentals, that this was a very, very bullish move. And you can even see on right here how much of, you know, that, how large that tail was, that wick on the candle right there. And, you know, right now, what we're doing ultimately is we had a little bit of a fake out right here. I know Frankie, he uses the market cipher. I use that as well. But right here, you can see we faked out. We came back above it and we're still holding upwards. So we only have a few more days, you know, at this resistance right here. If we do get rejected, then I think we do need to test some of these lower levels. Now, one thing I warned people was if you just have a look at the fear and greed, we're getting into some of the highest greed that we've seen. And I know it's like, oh, well, you can't always just go by this, but let's be honest, fear, greed, emotions, it's what's driving, you know, it drives the markets. And if we come down here, you know, if we look at the levels that we're looking at right here, we're up around 64. The closest we got was sort of up here, 47. And the last time we were, you know, remotely, let me find it, up in that area was basically right here. You know, right around here in March of 2022. And you could see we had a massive sell-off. Now, I'm not saying that's the case because this was a downtrend, whereas this is an uptrend, but I am saying you can see, like Frankie pointed out, you know, very, very, very important level, right, of previous support acting as resistance. So, you know, if we come over here, I was telling everyone this is sort of the blue zone, right? We're kind of in the middle where you're having this resistance from the previous and then this support from what we had last year. And anything outside of this blue zone is kind of like, be careful. Anything below the blue zone is, you know, buy, right? So right here, we fell out of it and I said, buy. We're getting closer to the area. So right as soon as we get around, you know, that 31,000, 32,000 area, then that's where I start to get a bit concerned. But one thing I do want to point out, let me actually see if I have a better, I'm trying to see if I have something better I could show you guys. Yeah, here's more like pivot points. Let me go to the daily. This is a little bit better. You guys could see. So you see like right here, basically, let me just get rid of these. If you look to the left, there is these points, right, where you could see on the way down where we try to have these break, like we tried to break out here, it's failed. Tried to break out here, failed. Try to break out, right? And that's where we just kept getting put down. And all you do is just draw horizontal lines. And you could see how those lines play in, right? Right here, we had that consolidation, right? We broke out. And what did we do? We came back, we retested it. We had a fake out, but that was of the downtrend. We came back up, we came up here, we came down. And look, this area right here, that was that crash, right? We had that retest, but we never really came down here and retested this area. So I still think that there's a possibility that we may have to come down here again, maybe retest that 25,000. You know what I mean? Just for that kind of, because you could see right here, you know, that was the support, but then it was resistance. We never had sort of a second support confirmation. It depends on what exchange you're looking at, but this is what Frankie was looking at down here, this market cipher. And you could see on here, there's a lot of signs. The market cipher, you could see the RSI is a little oversold on the daily. You know, we are potentially putting in, even though it looks like we're trying to start another little trigger wave, it doesn't look like it's having a lot of strength. So that's kind of pointing to the downside. You could see money flow moving to the down. You also have the wave edge, which I would be very careful. It looks like in the next days, it could move down. And then also, you know, the wave edge is also giving these signals right here that we've spoke about. And basically these arrows, they show when large entities are selling, or a small amount of entities have large amounts of volume. So in this instance, they were selling, and in this instance, they're selling again. So that's all I'm saying. I would just say take it with a grain of salt. You know, we do have a CME futures gap down here to close that. That's around 20,300. But at the end of the day, guys, I'm going to leave it with this, not financial advice. You know, Colin Talks Crypto. He made this great chart where he put together all these different pi cycle, Puel multiple, and he put it all into one thing. And, you know, the confidence that we are anywhere near the top is only at around 24%, which, in other words, how confident are we that we're at the bottom? Well, you know, just do the inverse of that. So, you know, even if you're worried, could it go lower? Could I buy lower? Possibly, but the odds are in your favor, even based on diminishing returns. You know, according to this, there's still at least another 60 to 80% chance, you know, to the upside. So that being said, I think that we're looking pretty good. And as long as the US doesn't do anything crazy, like ban crypto tomorrow, then I think healthy pullback might be in the cards, but I'm still bullish, and I'm still thinking higher highs by the end of this year. So
yeah, dude, thank you. Great analysis. Let me hold on a second. I don't know why this isn't allowing me to do what I normally do.
With that being said, smash those likes.
Why is it not letting me? There we go. I don't know why it wasn't letting me pull from the side. Yeah, smash the likes. Make sure you're subscribed to everyone on here. Bill Noble, Crypto Zombie, Frankie Candles, taking time out for you to show you the TA world. We're also talking, obviously, some fundamentals today as well. One of the things I do want to bring up really quickly is do your taxes. This show is sponsored by Price CPA, Crypto Tax Bookkeeping. Anthony Price, he owns Price CPA. He's fantastic to work with, and here's the reality. He knows crypto. That's what he does. So he's been in the crypto space, and he's a CPA. He was able to help Crusader and I make some really good decisions as it related to some of our NFT sales, among other things. And normally, if you go to an accountant that doesn't know anything about crypto, they're going to want to kick you. They're going to want to boot you in the butt for bringing a whole bunch of chaos to their front door. So you got to do your taxes, which unfortunately sucks. We all know it's theft, but you got to do your taxes and get somebody that actually understands crypto. So, round of applause to Anthony. Okay, cool. Moving on. So Bill, I want to ask you, one of the things that you have been notorious for is a different style of chart. And I've asked you about these charts before, but there's a lot of new people on the stream today. So one of the different styles of chart that's not a new style, but you use and look at are the Gann charts. And a lot of times you've been notorious for doing a hand-drawn Gann chart. I'm not pushing you to have to do that on here, but can you tell us, first of all, what the chart analyzes for anybody that's new, what a Gann chart is, and then why, because I saw you compare it on a Twitter thread or kind of use it as part of a Twitter thread. Why are the Gann charts kind of connecting you to the sell in May and walk away?
Okay. So let me share the screen. William Gann was a guy who traded stocks back in the late 1920s, early 1930s. He made $50 million back then.
$50 million when? In the 30s?
1930.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Okay. So he was kind of like the Indiana Jones of TA, right? He studied numbers from the Bible, the Egyptians, all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
He did things in a very unorthodox way. So, and his indicators are on TradingView. So if you look at this, these are called Gann fan lines. Just hit the button here and these lines draw out using angles. So like, for example, it's a big deal in Gann analysis to have a 45-degree angle. Where did he get that from? Well, 9 is a big number in ancient numerology, and so is 5, and so is 90. Okay. So a 45-degree Gann angle is something you can read about. This, I pulled up Investopedia for a reason. The indicators are on TradingView. Now, if you go to the hand cap charts, right, this is just like a snapshot of what I do by hand. These lines, they are not trend lines. They're not connecting 2 points. They are angles. So it's almost like the unseen edge is how I explain it to the cryptoverse. Now, Gann was also into both price and time. Okay. In other words, he wanted to know when price was going to move, but more importantly, when it was going to move. Okay. Now we go to Twitter. So how did Gann figure this out? Well, planetary alignments, astronomy, astrology, right? Certain planets influence certain things, like, Jupiter's great for stocks going up. Each planet can have different things it influences. And as planets move around the sky, right, that also changes things, right? Solar eclipses, lunar eclipses. You can spend your whole life doing it. Well, guess what? I know a little bit about it, and I know enough to ask our friend ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So
let's see what
speaking of
ChatGPT has to say.
right, so 45. Remember, I had that number. So how about the number 5? How about testing whether or not there's anything to sell in May and go away?
Okay.
And here's an answer. A way to use the number 5 is to look at the 5th month of the year, which is May. May is also the month when the sun enters Gemini. That's the sun moving around the sky. Okay. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Now, buckle up for this. Mercury is the planet of communication and transportation. What do you do on the internet? You communicate and you transport crypto and money.
Okay.
Mercury is also associated with electricity and magnetism. So, could you have a disturbance in May in the internet that affects crypto? Based on Gann work, you could. Now, we talked about fear and greed. Here's how it'll go, I think, not investment advice. The solar eclipse in April is good for crypto because it means the old system is cracking, which allows Bitcoin to go up. So somewhere in the middle of April, right around that eclipse on the 20th, you'll probably have the big hooray high above 30K in Bitcoin. That's a guess. Then in May, you're going to get your introduction to basically a crypto black swan or something weird happening in crypto. Hopefully it's an altcoin rally.
Yeah.
But something's going to stall Bitcoin in May and June. And what you don't want to do in a crisis, and this is the most important point, in a crisis like 2008, consensus trades, everybody knew stock market was going down, but it was impossible to be short. Everybody knows Bitcoin's going up. It may be impossible to be long. They may test you in May and June. And if everybody is euphoric about crypto and Bitcoin, people can get dogmatic, dug in, and then stopped out right when they're supposed to be buying it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to approach this from it's sell in May and go away, right? And come back in July and let it fly.
I've not heard the tail end about back in July and let it fly, but I've told people before that I wish I would have done more, but I listened to you back when you were with the other company that we won't speak of right now. And you were talking about sell in May and walk away at that point. I think that was actually in 21, I believe was when I actually, it was a really, really freaking good decision for me, at least the amount that I did take profits at that point. And I've always been, I think the first time I met you, I reminded you of, or just told you that, hey, you helped me make some money, Bill. I appreciate you, brother. So yeah, the Gann charts, the whole planetary system. I don't know. I'm a May baby. My birthday's coming up. I'm 30. I'm going to be 39 here in.
You're a maybe. A maybe.
Ugh, I am a maybe. A May baby. Yeah, and I've never got into personally any of the planetary alignments and all of the whatever. But I will say the one thing that I will say, initially on its face to me sounds crazy. Okay. But the very interesting thing is I've seen a number of analysts that use this and like have done really well with the moon cycles. And like, I know, and Bill, I know you probably know, it sounds kind of freaking crazy, right? Like, okay, the moon and Mercury and retrograde is going to make people make these kind of decisions because of electromagnetic. I don't know, but our bodies and the planet that we live on is a very, very, very complex place. Just like ultimately any sort of investments are. It's difficult, right? You're making stressful decisions, hopefully not falling into while you're trading into making emotional decisions. But the reality is the crypto markets are stressful and they're up, down, up, down. I've seen the little meme where the guy says, me sleeping during Bitcoin hodlers trying to sleep. And it shows the guy dreaming through some wild roller coaster. And sometimes it feels like that. You know what I mean? It really does. So no, I appreciate you for showing that, Bill, and bringing just kind of a different perspective to it. So I'm going to pull up an article real quick. First of all, smash the likes if you haven't already. We got 167 people in here. We appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Make sure to follow us on all the socials. Make sure to follow Bill Zombie and Frankie Candles as well. All right, cool. Let me pull up. I'm going to pull up an article right quick because I have a question, gentlemen. $4 billion in Bitcoin options about to expire. How it might affect price performance. Okay, I could see that maybe affecting some price performance. So here's what I want to get into. So 141,000 Bitcoin options and 1.746 million Ethereum options are set to expire soon, with a nominal value of $4.1 billion and $3.1 billion respectively. That's $4.1 billion for Bitcoin, 3.1 for Ethereum, I believe is how they have it. The put call ratio for Bitcoin options is 0.74, indicating a slightly bullish outlook among the market participants, while the max pain point, and this is what I want to kind of pay attention to because I want to hear this from what you guys are thinking. The max pain point, however, is 24K. Okay. Then on the other side, Ethereum, the put call ratio is at 0.33 with a max pain point of 1,600. So understanding we're around 28 with Bitcoin, we're around 1,800-ish with Ethereum. We've got some movement in the markets, but $4.1 billion set to expire. Frankie, let me ask you, how did, like, when you look at information like this, how would you be trading given that information, knowing that you have over $4 billion worth of options expiry coming up? Does it affect the way that you trade? And if so, like, what are you looking at?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And to be honest, anytime you have something like this, whether it's options expiry or FOMC meetings, anything like this, but particularly with options expiry, it injects a lot of very unpredictable volatility into the market. So for me personally, I don't typically, I know some people, obviously that's what we need as traders is that volatility to make money, right? We don't care if it goes up. We don't care if it goes down. I just need the candles to move up and down and I can make money. But with the options expiry, again, because it injects so much unpredictable volatility into the market, I typically, I will hold positions that I'm in, but what I do is I just manage my positions that I'm already in very tightly. And usually for things like that, I will actually sit out on any new trades. And I just kind of let the chaos ensue and I let the dust settle. And then I'll make my next plays after the chaos comes to an end, right? Let the dust settle, kind of identify, let price pick a direction, let everything settle down, and then try to find a setup from there. So I do know a lot of people do kind of thrive or people kind of go after that volatility. But I just kind of hold it. A lot of times when I trade, I'm in a long and a short at the same time a lot. Yep. So basically, the best situation that, kind of what the position I like to be in when things like this happen is, hopefully I will still be in, right now, I am in, a couple of longs and I'm in a one short, right? So basically what I would do is manage those trades, right? And then, if I'm in profit, typically I will move my stop losses into profit. And then if I want to hold my positions, I'll let the chaos ensue. And then if whether the long or the short gets stopped out, the other trade will run. And, at that point, if I do have trades open, if they're both in profit, it's kind of just a win-win. Yeah. If it goes down, the long will get stopped out in profit, and then the short will just print me money. So that's basically, I basically just sit it out and manage my trades. I don't really look for new opportunities on it.
You know what? I love the fact that you're willing to do that. Sometimes I hear really fantastic traders like yourself, like the other gentleman on the panel, say sometimes the best trade is no trade at all, sitting on your hands and just absolutely not doing anything. I want to go over to Bill real quick. Bill, you were in the legacy financial markets and system heavy for a long time with Goldman Sachs, as I recall. How do options expiries? Let's even move outside of Bitcoin. But how do options expiries? How are they looked at from the traders on the traditional finance side of things? What does this normally do in terms of what's happening in the background?
Okay, good question. So Frankie is right. As a technical analyst, options expiration day was a day off.
Okay,
have fun with this, guys. Now, what the legacy guys would do is they would focus on where the open interest is at what strikes. So sometimes price would gravitate to a strike with open interest and just sit there so that all the puts and calls at those prices would expire. So it would be you guys, how you, Frankie will show the volume histograms. Yeah. It's the same thing. Where are these key pressure points of both high volume and low volume? Now, in this case, I'm reading here, ChatGPT is saying that there's a bunch of put options in Bitcoin, okay, at 40K that are coming off.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were pulling something up there.
No. I'll pull it up right here. Okay. So I'm seeing here that there's a high concentration of put options at 40,000 and below.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that's options that people have been holding for a while. They're hedges, right? If you were hedging at 40K and below, that was a long time ago. So when your hedges expire, people may put their hedges back on a rush up to 30, right? They're like, oh, wow, look at this euphoric rally. Let me hedge all my Bitcoin. Because even though Michael Saylor's cowboy long, by the way, his average price is 30, right? Even though these guys may be cowboy long, they still got to have a hedge in the options market.
Yeah.
And if you want to know why ETH can't get through 2,000, there's a high concentration of puts at 2,000, right? So, you know, as it sits there below 2,000, when all those hedges come off, people may put the hedges back on. And when you buy puts, you put a little bit of pressure on the market.
Yeah.
So that's why I think any rally is probably going to be, you know, more towards the middle of April when these options gymnastics are over, because they can take 4 or 5 days to work themselves out.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a big expiration. So
yeah,
that's a window into legacy thinking about options.
No, I appreciate that. I asked that question because, you know, unfortunately, the crypto markets, fortunately, sometimes unfortunately, are still very much tied to legacy markets, or at least they seem to follow a lot of what's happening. Lately, we've been kind of pulling away from that with all the chaos in the banks and what we have going on, obviously, economically. But I always like to understand the calls and puts, for those of you that are newer to this, are effectively people betting on the price going up or going down. The call is betting on it going up. The put is betting on it going down. That's just really a simple way for you to put that out there if you were curious. But ultimately, I guess I didn't put together that I didn't connect the dots that the reason to sit it out is because you don't know what's going to happen once the money is no longer sitting there in the manner that it is. Are people going to jump back into calls? Are people going to jump back into puts? What kind of pressure are they trying to put on the market? That's really good information. I really appreciate you guys sharing that. So thank you. All right, cool. Let me see here. Zombie. So all of what we've been talking about here surrounds a couple key factors that you probably heard us talk about in the past, but I kind of am interested to hear your take on this. So we had 25 basis points rate hike, a fundamental collapse effectively in traditional banking and finance. Yet crypto is still pumping. So my question is there a big move coming? And if so, do you have some, if so, or if not, do you have some confirmations that you're actually looking for in relation to that?
Yeah, I mean, I went over the charts before. Those numbers are still kind of the same, you know, the same zones that Frankie was talking about. You know, we get above that 32K sort of area. We confirm above that. And then, you know, for me, breaking anything on the upward sloping trend. So that would be falling really where we had that $25,300 level. I don't need to show the charts, about 25.1 to 25.3, falling below that, falling below the 200 weekly, holding below that again for a couple weeks. Then yes, then I would say that. Do I expect a big move? I actually do. I actually think that we are, because we're kind of consolidating right now. And I do think we are going to have that big move. Maybe it is with the options expiry. Who knows? And by the way, guys, I agree. I don't trade those either. But, you know, getting back to your point, 25 basis point raise, you know, people are talking about what if they raise another 25 at this point? Obviously, I don't have as much history as, for example, Bill does, but I can tell you from what I've just seen, really doesn't seem like people care anymore. And I'm not sure that another 25 is really going to do any damage. You know what I mean? I think the damage has been done. I think that they did not raise fast enough. And maybe some people argue they shouldn't have raised at all after how much they had printed. You know, it's just been one extreme to the other. And I think the technicals do matter, but I think ultimately people are realizing the sort of incompetence of the Fed and how their tools are becoming less and less useful over time. And I think a lot of people are opting into alternatives. For example, Bitcoin, you know, El Salvador choosing it as a potential for a currency to be used. So, you know, you can hedge long and short. You can hedge with puts and whatever, calls, options, whatever you want. I just hedge simply by dollar cost averaging and holding, you know, as my hedge as well. Not saying you should go all in. You know, you can have fun trading it. But personally, like I've been saying, without dragging this on too long, I don't want to take up too much of your gentleman's time here. But I just can't stress enough how everything that's been going on right now is an advertisement for Bitcoin. And I mean, really seriously at this point, unless there's a straight up Bitcoin ban, how much more FUD are we really going to get? Come on. We had all the major institutions. We had Terra Luna. We had Celsius. We had FTX. We have the crypto banking contagion. We have the SEC clamping down on everyone and their mother. And yet Bitcoin is putting in higher highs. So I mean, unless this is just one giant scheme to just, you know, take all the money and liquidity from the retail, to me, this is sending the signal that, you know what, you're right. History does repeat, or doesn't necessarily repeat. It might rhyme. But I think we may be at that point where we're starting to write a new chapter in history. This might be that new chapter that you tell your grandkids about. Like, I lived through that. I saw that. You know, like some people saw the confiscation of the gold in the 30s. You know, I hope they don't do that with Bitcoin, but I think what we're seeing right now is something fundamentally that you really can't look back historically and compare to. I think it's a new paradigm, a new shift, a new understanding. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, the more they try to choke it, the more they try to kill it, it's only going to make it stronger. You're only going to push it offshore, and Pandora's box has been opened. So embrace it, tax it if you'd like, or you know, get lost in the dust, brother. You know what I'm saying? So
make a decision. Make a decision one way or the other. We need to get some clarity here. We need to get some
we need to get some. But like I said before, they love the lack of clarity, because the SEC can keep slapping fines, because if you don't know the rules. You know, like, what was the Coinbase CEO? He was like, it's like a rugby referee at a football game, like reading from a book of soccer rules, but calling back on play. You know, it's like, just tell us what to do. You know, we're not trying to, you know.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I couldn't agree with you more. And, you know, the scary thing is, this kind of leads into my next question, but the scary thing is, you said, like, hey, I lived through that. Okay. Here's what I'm seeing happening right now. Bill, I'm going to come to you on this one. Like I said earlier, you were in the traditional space, finance space, for a long time. And so I think this might resonate with you a little bit. We now, and this is what we're living through right now, we now have countries, okay? I can't stress this enough. We have countries that were effectively sworn enemies, creating an alliance in order to avoid accepting the US dollar, okay? So literally countries that would just as soon, you know, cut each other off than talk to each other or shake hands. They're now saying, hey, how do we not accept the US dollar? So, Bill, with this happening, we see the BRICS nations. We see more people jumping on board with the BRICS nations. We see Saudi Arabia kind of maybe hinting at not accepting, or at least like moving over to another form of payment to accept for oil. It's a scary time, right? So how do you see that affecting our economy? And then on the tail end of that, if it affects our economy in whatever way you get into, how does that then spill into crypto?
Okay, so let's talk about the dollar. So let's do some hidden pivot analysis here. So this is DXY, right? And this is hidden pivot analysis. It uses FibMath. And as you can see, we're in a debt crisis, and the economics book says the only answer to a debt crisis is a currency devaluation, as a currency drop. So the dollar is below 102.79, and the minimum downside target is 91.5. And the Williams oscillator from Bill Williams is getting close to zero, which means a big dollar move is coming, which means there's going to be probably a God candle in Bitcoin near the eclipse in mid-April. And probably a monster move in gold. Now, if you want to talk the economy and big picture, right, you go to the dollar index on the 3-month chart. So we're coming up on the end of the quarter, right? 1985, you know, central banks were like, you know what, you know, there's a geopolitical agreement to let the dollar go down. And the dollar went from 150 DXY to 84, a 46% drop. Okay.
Massive.
And the world did not end. It did not end. Okay. Here, if you have a 46% drop in the dollar, okay, DXY is going to go from 103 to 60.
Ooh.
Okay. So is the dollar going to be the world's reserve currency? I don't know. Is it fun for other countries to try to kick the dollar around? Sure. But the real issue is, can people change the perception of the dollar so that the dollar can go down? Now, again, how do you profit from that? Everyone's spending too much time, I think, talking about foreign countries doing trades outside the dollar. This has been on zero hedge for 2 years or more. Right now, CNN and Fox News picked up on it. Crypto Twitter, we all know what geniuses they are. Okay. The real issue is, how do you profit from a down move in the dollar? Right now, if the dollar goes to zero, that's a problem. The way you profit from a down move in the dollar is you figure out how to get Bitcoin and crypto navigating the treacherous waters. Gold, wheat, oil, because a lot of things, one thing people are not talking about, dollar down traditionally means commodities up, not necessarily hyperinflation, but intermarket technical analysis by John Murphy. I got to get the book out. But as I remember, it's dollar down, commodities up. So oil's doing well, gold's doing well, wheat's got a bid to it. You got a nuclear plant in Ukraine. They're still fighting over there.
Yep.
A lot of wheat and food, just because I can't control myself. June, the number 6, a biblical number associated with evil. So if the bad guys are going to come get the United States, there's going to be a geopolitical event or a dollar oopsie daisy drop sharply, probably June. That could also be, an attack on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The thing about the dollar is profit. How do you profit if the dollar goes down and trends down sharply?
Okay. Tell me.
Okay. Well, you start with gold, right? So, Bitcoin maybe sell in May and go away. Maybe, right? Gold, I think, is actually going to outperform everything April, May, June, July, right? Because people know that there's something wrong with the dollar, the stock market, the banking system. Silver's up 2% today as we're recording this. I think they're going to come out guns blazing at the start of the new quarter, and they're going to buy gold, right? Remember how Bitcoin was up 63% this year? Okay, gold could turn around and do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Bitcoin comes off because of the, crypto, internet, electricity, black swan, right? And then, like I said, come back in July and let it fly. Then Bitcoin and gold can go together. The best way to profit from a decline in the dollar, not investment advice, is commodities. Also, final word, Ethereum. I worked with a very high-powered economist at a prior job. He did some work showing that when the dollar goes lower sharply and grains and gold go up, you want to know what the best cryptocurrency to own is in those circumstances is? ETH. The supply of ETH.
Let's go. That's my big holding. Let's go.
Supply of ETH is shrinking. So maybe in April, it's a big ETH rally. It's Polkadot. Citibank came out. We were talking about Ravencoin and tokenizing assets like real estate, stuff like that. Citibank came out today talking about tokenizing things.
Yeah.
Not a lot of liquidity out there in legacy. So who knows?
Yeah, the level of confidence that and it's not just in the United States, but all around the world that countries have in their prospective governments, in their current governments, is little to none almost across the board. I know I was just down in Brazil recently. They are absolutely just that the election was flat out and admittedly stolen down there. There's lots of distrust issues. Their new president is just got out of prison. Lots of chaos there. We've got chaos here. China and the BRICS nations are all banding together to effectively kind of change the dollar. And so my question is, with that happening, and this is for all of you, I'll start with you, Frankie. So with the acceleration, with effectively this is like de-dollarization, it's just pushing people away from the dollar. Bill said, hey, this has been happening for a while, or at least the information's been available for a while, but they're just really pushing on it right now. Who knows why that would push out? But with the acceleration of the de-dollarization, if you will, is that going to benefit Bitcoin in your opinion, or is it going to spell trouble?
Yeah, so I actually kind of wanted to piggyback off of what Zombie was talking about. Talking about kind of what is going to bring Bitcoin lower, and then I'll kind of get back to the question more directly, what you were just asking. One thing that I was looking at and kind of noticed as we were coming down was obviously the Celsius collapse was a giant fall, but as we got this continued FUD, the corrections got less severe and less severe. And I had Garrett Soloway on my channel, on my show recently, and we were kind of talking about it, and he's like, that's basically a bullish divergence between fundamentals and price action, which I think is really important for people to realize, because you hear people say like, what is the FUD that's going to bring Bitcoin lower? And that, I always go back to that thought where it's like, yeah, because as you're getting the Celsius collapse, massive fall to the downside, right? And then FTX happens, every other little piece of bad news that we got was like a little bit less and a little bit less of a drop. So again, like bullish divergence between the fundamentals and the price action. So that I 100% agree with Crypto Zombie. It's like, what is going to be that next thing? And then in my head, naturally, I'll coming back to kind of more directly what you were asking is, in my head, I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? The looming recession, which is funny that they're still like, it's coming. It's like, are we not
the
in
one
it?
We've been in?
But yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. I was in the office at the BitBoy Crypto Studios, and I was just talking to some people, some coworkers at the office, and they were asking me what I thought about the markets, like more macro. And this was a few months ago. I think this was before we got this, big move up from the bottom. And I was like, it's like, you don't want to be the super early bull. You don't want to be the super late bear. And they were just, asking me like what I thought. Do I think the bottom's in? And I was just kind of saying like, I don't want to hold the dollar, obviously. I don't want to hold fiat because I don't want money in the banks, right? Because the banks are going down, and just holding dollars in general, obviously everyone knows your USD is just absolutely melting over time due to inflation. And, it's like you can't keep it in the bank. You don't want to keep it in physical cash. Like where you can't keep it on the exchanges, right? We recently had, this whole bear market was just exchanges going down left and right. And it's like, what am I supposed to do with my money? And, we're all just kind of sat there and looked at each other like, kind of sounds like you should have some Bitcoin in a wallet, right? And it's like, this seems like the most bullish case for Bitcoin ever. And I think that, I think this could wind up being extremely bullish for Bitcoin because, it just once everyone starts having that thought, like, well, I can't hold dollars. I don't want to have money in the bank. I don't want to keep crypto on the exchanges. It's like Bitcoin is the answer. And so I think it's going to be super bullish. Even if this recession does turn into something worse, I think this is like, Bitcoin's been sitting there waiting for this to happen. So I do think it's mega bullish for Bitcoin. And back to what Zombie was saying, I think really the only thing that can actually step on this is, if the US decides to just completely outright ban crypto or something crazy like that. So yeah, I do think it's overall very, very bullish for Bitcoin. I actually think that this is literally what Bitcoin's been waiting for. So yeah, I would say definitely bullish.
Dude, 100%. I am with you. I'm going to take Crusaders 100%. That's one of his favorite quotes. 100%. No, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And a lot of people come on and say, "Why is this dude wearing a bulletproof vest?" Right? So, Danger Close Alpha, as always, sponsors the shows. It is our NFT project. We are currently still selling bullets, beans, and bourbon. No, not in the physical sense, but in the NFT sense. And somebody is going to win 5 full Ethereum. They are for sale. They're 0.01 each. They're on OpenSea right now. We're giving away every 100 that we sell. We're giving away a vest with the custom patch on it as well. So yeah, check that out. Make sure you get involved. DangerCloseAlpha.com if you want to get into our Discord and get involved. We'd love to have you. So guys, we have a couple minutes left, but I want to finish out that thought. Zombie, the aggressive de-dollarization, bullish or bearish for Bitcoin?
Aggressive. Well, if we have like a flash crash in the dollar, you know what I mean? It might make some people kind of scared just because people, especially it's not like you can pay your bills in crypto, right? You have to convert it. Most people can't pay their bills in crypto. Unfortunately, I wish it was easier. So there is always that still, I need to have some kind of cash on hand. And if people feel that there may be some devaluation or something comes up, you may see the negative reaction. Your first reaction is just, let me go back to what I grew up on dollars. Let me hoard it. But I think ultimately it won't last. Okay. It'll be a flash in the pan. It'll be something like these wicks that you see that are associated with, events that happen. I think ultimately it will just continue to allow people to wake up. And another thing that you have to realize is, the generations are kind of starting to now sort of, and this isn't Bill. I'm really, I appreciate your expertise and your wealth of knowledge, man. But when you have like 72-year-old Elizabeth Warren coming out, like, it's time. It's time, to let the new, you know what I'm saying? And I just think that you're going to just see people that are our age, some people that are younger than us. You see Miss Teen Crypto, she's out there educating the Gen Z. I think that as time goes by, we're going to eventually realize that these old ways don't work anymore, and that there is a marriage that you can have between the traditional finance and the new definance. I think that there will be a happy place for both of them, and I think they can coexist. We don't have to kill the dollar. We don't have to kill Bitcoin. They can all exist. Just for me, historically, I prefer the monetary policy of Bitcoin, and I think a lot of people in my generation are starting to wake up if they haven't already.
Well, Bill, I love the input there, Bill. I just want to throw out there.
I do love Bill, by the way, man. I love
just call it.
Yo, man, you guys got me playing bridge with Elizabeth Warren.
No,
shots fired.
I didn't mean
definitely
it like that.
called you old, but we're gonna get past that part of it. What do you think? What do you think about the dollar? If genuinely people or these countries continue to push away from it, is it good or bad for crypto? Good or bad for Bitcoin specifically?
All right. Well, while my memory is still good, let me tell you. Okay. I think the dollar going sharply lower embarrasses the U.S. government and the Fed.
Okay.
So when someone gets embarrassed, they attack. Here's a crazy idea. What if Bitcoin could make a new low and a new high this year? Meaning, what happens if you could see 32, 14, 140? Now,
strap in.
Yeah, strap in. You get paid for imagination and research. We've been lulled to sleep by this range trade. Folks, I just see it being that kind of year, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't want to get, just like internet stocks in 2001, you didn't want to be puking Amazon out at the low in 2002, even though you knew that was the future. So let me just keep that. I'll throw that crazy thing out there, and then I'll go take a nap.
Man.
Bill's never gonna let me live it down.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. So, Crypto Fam, listen, we appreciate each and every one of you for being here. I just saw another thank you guys all for the super chats. We had a number of super chats came through. I pulled them up on the screen. I didn't have the chance to thank all of you. So thank you guys very much for your support of the show. We appreciate you. Didn't have any requests to come over on Twitter, so I think we're going to end it there. But Crypto Fam, listen, we appreciate you. Follow Zombie, follow Bill Noble, follow Frankie Candles. Gentlemen, thank you, each of you, for coming onto the show. You guys, as always, brought the heat. And if you guys want to see more of that heat, make sure to give them a follow. Hit the bell notification. Make sure you like the video before you go. Just remember to question everything, trust nothing. And until next time, hodl like it's hot. We will see you soon.